morning, everyone. As you can see, I'm currently in Little Blue 2, driving on the interstate. One of the reasons I've disappeared off the YouTube, as well as the Living in a Van Facebook group, is there's a lot going on right now, and I'm following my heart, just as I did when I made the announcement to try to create a real Camp Freedom 2 by building the Freedom, Hope, and Love Foundation. And that is all still in the works. People in the background are working on it. As for me right now, I'm actually potentially leaving the state of Florida. I'm on I-95 right now, heading out towards Kentucky. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm following my heart. It is something that I had planned on doing even before the revelation and everything else. And that's why, if you'll recall in the previous videos, I kept saying I got like about a month or so left. My hearing with the court as far as child support is done. So my legal situation is pretty much done as of this point, other than, you know, fighting for my children. And if that's going to happen, that's going to have to happen with your help on the GoFundMe site or another means. I have been honest with everyone from the very beginning, even though there are those who will say that I'm a scam artist and trying to take advantage of the homeless and doing all this. And they say all this without knowing me, without even listening to me and hearing my side of what happened. I have made some videos that explain what went down and why I'm in this situation. Now, it seems a lot of people want to stay focused, you know, in the vanning community. They want the vanning page to stay related to vanning and vanning information. They want the YouTube to stay with vanning and vanning information, and don't really care to know about my personal life and my situation. So I've gone ahead and made a new channel that will list, or actually produced, a lot of videos that tell exactly what went down, how it went down, and what happened, and how things were like when all this went down, and how I was treated, and what I learned. So I'll be providing a link for that. I've also put up some evidence from the guardian ad litem, who was put into the case by the judge. She was put into the case of the divorce case, the custody case, not the criminal case, because by that time I had already pled guilty in the criminal case, and I did that, as I explained on the video, to protect my daughter. Truthfully, if God had told me to continue on the trial, I would have done it, because I trust in God. And even though things didn't make sense, just as they didn't make sense when, you know, to bring all this up and out right now when everything was going smoothly for me, and I was prepared to move on with my life, travel on the road, and possibly have a new travel partner, life partner. I don't know how it's all going to work out, but that's where I'm heading right now. This is not something that has, you know, just developed. It's something that has been ongoing, and it was part of the plan for me. It was to eventually leave the state of Florida and travel around the country. Whether or not I do it with a partner remains to be seen. And if things work out and it's God's will, then I won't be traveling alone. The travel may not even occur right away, because I may end up having to build another van to accommodate 2 people and a dog. But that's all up in the air right now. It depends on this meeting and how things go and whether or not she and I get along. As far as the foundation itself, that is still in process. I have people trying to do some research on it. We're probably going to end up forming a nonprofit. My own role in it, for those of you who are curious, I'm not really planning on having much to do with the foundation other than setting it up. I've been picked, if you want to call it that, or chosen, if you believe, that I truly had a revelation that all this is God's will. I've been picked to start it up and to be the figurehead, the spearhead of this cause. But I do not really wish to run a foundation. I would like to travel in my van, maybe with my girl, and see the country and then eventually the world. That's always been my goal. That's always been what I've wanted to do, even before all this stuff with my divorce. I had an RV and everything ready to go. I was about to retire and travel. So the links will be provided, and I'll separate the two channels. So those who want to follow, what happened to me and help push for the cause can do so. Those who are just interested in the vanning aspect of it, the vanning videos, can continue to follow this channel. Like I said, I'm heading to Kentucky right now, and I don't know how long I'll be up there. I still have a couple unfinished business in Florida, so I may come back to Florida to close things out. But if I'm able to close these things out without even coming back to Florida, I may just start my journey, today. Everything is up in the air. There's a lot of unknowns, but as with everything I've done so far, I'm guided by my heart. I do what my heart tells me. I try to be true to my heart, and if it means putting myself out there, putting my life out there, and letting people ridicule me or basically crucify me in public, then so be it. Some people think that, I'm trying to convert people and save people and do all that stuff. I'm not. I'm just trying to do what I believe. And I believe in God. I'm not a highly religious man. But because of my beliefs, if God is telling me something, then my choice is either to listen to God and do what He commands, or to not. I choose to listen to God. And that's why we're in the situation we're in right now. I didn't plan all this. I was planning to leave like around now or next month, and begin my journey and do my van videos. So I could actually show off stuff like Daytona Beach, St. Augustine, Key West. I was gonna make a loop throughout Florida and cover all the cities and show things that people can do and whatnot. There's a lot behind the scene that people are not aware of, and it's really not their business. It's my business. I am not on the video 24 hours a day. I don't tell everyone everything that happens. Like, one of the reasons I've been so quiet the last couple days is I still have or had a pending visitation with my children, which I took advantage of this Sunday. Some people are thinking that I'm not allowed to see my kids, or that, that my case is still ongoing. it's pretty much over. It's been over for about 5 years since I did my probation. You know, I've had my kids on weekends and overnights when my ex allows it. The problem is she doesn't allow visitation according to the court orders. The children aren't allowed to see their dad when they're supposed to. And she doesn't comply with the orders and has done things that I think are detrimental to my daughter and my son. And when I go back to court to bring up the issue, and I show that she is indeed not complying with court orders, you know, she's in contempt of court, the judge always says, ma'am, you need to comply. And then that's it. There's no punishment, there's no nothing. And I've gone there several times, and that's what I'm talking about. When, you know, I've gone to court so many times over this, they refuse to do anything about it. Meanwhile, my kids have suffered immensely. My daughter, who has Asperger's, is high functioning, and her Asperger's is barely noticeable. It just becomes noticeable when she gets fixated on certain things or gets certain things distorted. And what's happened now is, you know, my ex-wife has stuck her into this school that is like for truly autistic kids. We're talking about kids who cannot even talk. They grunt. And they throw fits and tantrums. And some of them don't even know how to take care of themselves with personal hygiene. My daughter is very high functioning, and you wouldn't even notice she has anything wrong. And actually, it's not saying that Asperger's is wrong, but different. And right now, if it is God's will, that's what I'm fighting for. I'm going to try to get representation for my children so they can speak. They've been silent these past 7 years because unless you have an attorney and then do all the paperwork correctly and stuff, children cannot speak. They don't allow them. And when I try to go up there, because of the way the system is set up, they can easily dismiss it. You know, for the judge, it's just another item on his checklist. And they just toss it out, or they say, ma'am, you need to follow, when there is truly contempt. This will be the last time I talk about this on the Living in a Van YouTube channel. If you wish to follow along with this story and the developments, the latest development as far as my own personal case and the story behind the story of what happened and what I learned and how people behave. Well, first off, if you want to know how people behave, you can watch it right now. If you were or are a member of the Living in a Van group, you can see how people behave. This is how they behaved when it first went down. You know, I was a respected teacher, and I was accused of some heinous stuff, and I was already presumed guilty from the very beginning by the public as well as the state prosecutor. And then when the evidence came out and showed that I was innocent, they still refused to admit that they were wrong. They continued to push the issue and to even lie and threaten my children, specifically my daughter. Now, if any of you are parents who truly love your kid, you're going to do anything you have to protect your child. And I did that. And by doing that, I've been presumed guilty. Not everyone who pleads guilty is guilty. Not everyone who is set free was innocent. Just know that I did what I did to protect my children. And to follow my heart. So if you want to tune in to that channel, I'll provide links for it. It is called Presumed Guilty, and it will detail everything. I made the first 2 videos, a Cliff Note version of what went down and how I ended up taking the plea, and what I actually pled to. I'll be producing some more videos that will cover in detail the whole events that led up to it, and what it was like. There's a lot of religious overtones because God was involved, and I will share it, even though some of it doesn't even make sense or seems crazy, but it's the truth. Crazy or not, truth is truth. You know, if I had told people, hey, a helicopter crashed by me while I was living in a hut or hanging out in a hut in the middle of the compound, and it wasn't on video, people would not believe me. They'd think I was crazy or something, because it sounds nuts. Or that I saw some UFOs. Or that a cougar was stalking me while I was in the hut. I had a fork as a weapon. It all sounds crazy, but it happened. Just like what happened to me with my court case. And it's what I'm trying to prevent from happening to other people. Even as you're watching this video right now, there are people that are still locked up because they will not take a plea. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end this video and let this be and let this subject rest as far as discussion of it on this channel or the Living in a Van Facebook group. I'll probably, if you're wanting to tune into the campaign, the GoFundMe campaign to try to raise a legal fee, money for the foundation so that it can help people, as well as set up the shelter and sanctuary for the homeless and the down and out. I'll be updating that on the Living in a Van page, as that is my personal page, and what I had created 5 years ago. Some of you are thinking, man, he had scammed us and planned all this out. The page was set up 5 years ago when I first ended up living in a van. The group was set up when I saw that there was a difference between the page and the group, and there was interest in people discussing things. And I set that group up and provided links to files and all that. You'd think I did all that to scam people. Some of you have no faith and are very cynical. And if you have no faith and you keep asking people to prove, there's no way to prove to you anything because you have no faith. Faith isn't based upon having proof. Faith is something that you believe because you know it in your heart. You trust your heart. And if you have faith, you have faith. If you don't have faith and you require proof, you will never have faith. Just think about that.